Hello, friends. Today I'll be talking about a very, very interesting thing in astrology, Mars and Saturn, and the role of these two planets in sports. Sports and movies are two things which gets me very excited. What I did is I looked into charts of around 30 to 35 sports persons, and these are big players. And what I found is most of these players have this combination of Mars and Saturn, Mars aspecting Saturn, Mars conjunct with Saturn, and so on. And what I saw is these two planets plays a very, very important role to succeed in sports. Why? Because Mars, as you know, is a warrior. Mars represents will, Mars represents determination. Saturn is a laborious planet. Saturn will represent discipline, Saturn will represent patience, and so on. So when you combine Mars and Saturn, what you get is a tough competitor, a competitor who will never accept defeat, a competitor will always be ready to fight. And that's why most of these legends in sports have this combination of Mars and Saturn, a Mars conjunct with Saturn or a Mars aspecting Saturn, and vice versa. Now, when you come to houses, there are four houses which plays a very important role. Now these four houses are the first house, because first house is you, first house is your physical body. The third house is your courage. The sixth house is the house of your enemies. Sixth house is competitions. So sixth house, third house, first house are very, very important house. Similarly, 10th house, because 10th house is your profession. Now, these four houses do play a very important role as far as sports is concerned. Mars, Saturn, and these four houses, the first house, the third house, the sixth house, and the 10th house. Now, let's look at few examples and mostly concentrate on the Saturn and Mars combination more than the houses, because today's topic is Mars and Saturn. So, first is Roger Federer. You must be all knowing about Roger Federer, one of the best players we have ever seen in tennis, men's tennis. Now, when we look at the chart of Roger Federer, what we see here is Mars is placed in 11th house, whereas Saturn is placed in the second house. Now, very clearly, it shows that Mars aspects Saturn and Saturn aspects Mars. And also, what is important here is to see that Saturn rules the sixth house, and Mars aspects Saturn, and also Mars aspects the sixth house. By the way, Mars in this chart is the Yoga Karaka planet too, because Mars is the ruler of the fourth house and Mars is the ruler of ninth house, two of the very auspicious house. So clearly shows that the combination of Saturn and Mars makes him a very, very determined, a very, very good player. Now let's move into the second chart or the second player, Michael Jordan. Everybody knows about Michael Jordan, the legendary basketball player. Now let's look at his chart. When you look at his chart, again you see Mars aspect Saturn. It's a direct aspect. Mars is seventh house away from Saturn. Hence, Mars aspects Saturn and Saturn aspects Mars. What is more interesting here is Mars again is the first house lord and Saturn is the 10th house lord, and both are aspecting each other. Now let's look into the next chart. The next chart is of that great cricketer called as Rahul Dravid. Fantastic player, one of the legends in Test cricket. Now let's look at his chart. Again, you see a combination, an aspect between Mars and Saturn, a direct aspect between Mars and Saturn. Mars, the third house ruler, Saturn, the sixth house ruler, aspecting each other. Really, really makes him a great cricketer. Now let's look at the next player, Jenny Lungu. She is one of the greatest French cyclists ever. Now, this player, when you look at her chart, again you see a direct aspect between Mars and Saturn. Mars is a 10th house ruler, the house of profession, whereas Saturn is the ascendant ruler. Now, Saturn is placed in the 10th house. Now, the next person is Muhammad Ali, the legendary boxer. And when you look at his chart, Saturn and Mars conjunct in the 10th house. Also, when you see his chart, Mars is again a Yoga Karaka planet in this chart because it rules two very, very auspicious houses. One, the fifth house, the other one, the 10th house, the house of profession. And it is placed in the 10th house with Saturn. Very, very strong combination to make him a very powerful boxer. Let's look at the final example. This is Pele, the most amazing footballer ever. Now, when you look at his chart, again, there is a aspect of Mars on Saturn. This is not a direct aspect, but still, the Mars is aspecting Saturn. Mars is in the second house, Saturn is in the ninth house, so Mars has the eighth aspect on Saturn. Saturn here is also the sixth house ruler. So Mars aspects the sixth house ruler here. Now, the reason why I did this video is very interesting. Now, when you usually hear this combination, Mars conjunct Saturn or Mars aspecting Saturn and vice versa, you get really scared, right? Astrology will tell you that's a very deadly combination. It's a very difficult combination. It's a combination which can make your life miserable. But please understand that everything or every aspect, every conjunction, rather everything around you, everything with you, within you, they all have either a positive aspect or a negative aspect. Everything has its pros and its cons. Now, when you see at this chart as well, you are seeing that very clearly that Mars Saturn combination is making a fierce competitor, a great player, a legend are born with such combinations. And also another thing, if you go through this video, you will see in some of these charts, these planets, either the Mars or Saturn, they're very badly placed. Saturn is, most of the cases, Saturn is uh, debilitated, or Mars is in an inimical sign, Mars is in a difficult position. Still, this combination, has brought the best out of them. And that this is my reason. So do not fear if you have a tough combination in your chart. Everybody, you, me, XYZ, these legends, other legends, they all have some of the other tough combination. I saw this with other players as well. I saw this with Sharapova's chart. I saw this in Steve Wall's chart. I saw this in other great sports person's chart as well. But you know because of the time constraint, and also because the rating of these charts, because I got this details, the birth details of these charts from Astro Data Bank, the rating of the other charts, the charts of the players I told you, of a Maria Sharapova or a Steve O, for that matter, were not AA grade. I only took those charts to give you, or to make this video, those charts whose birth details, or those people whose birth details were in the AA grade, the best grade, and tried to prove that the combination of Mars and Saturn plays a very, very important role in a sports person career, in a sports or in sports profession, and not to get scared of any combination. Even the most difficult combination can make a person reach great height. Thank you for watching. If you like my video, please like my video, please subscribe to my channel, and please share it. Thank you so much.